Welcome into Studio 73, everybody, and welcome to Outside the Huddle, our last episode before the winter break. I'm Laney Johnson.
And I'm Jacob Tobey, and we might have one more. I'm going off to Spain. We may Skype me in.
We might Skype in.
We don't know. We're going to figure it out. But anyways, we're going to talk about the Patriots first, as we always do. Going up against the Broncos this week, but they beat the Ravens 30-23 last week. It was a pretty good win.
Yeah, it was a really good win. It was a game that a lot of Patriots fans were worried about. The Ravens always play them hard, and the only reason the Ravens stuck in that game were because of mistakes on special teams.
Cyrus Jones, to be exact. I swore on Facebook, or Twitter rather, that he was going to get released the next day because he muffed that punt. He ended up not doing so. Devin Hester, on the other hand, for the Baltimore Ravens, got dropped. The punt returner, the four-time Pro Bowler, he got dropped. But again, special teams was really an issue in that game.
It was, but Tom Brady came through like he always does. He was 25 for 38, 406 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 bad interception at the goal line, but
which was his first of the year at the goal.
Right, but a great game altogether.
Yeah, no, he played really well. But again, did the Pats defense in the third quarter show why it is their weakness? Because they did struggle in that third quarter.
They did struggle in that third quarter, but again, the special teams issues, they allowed the Ravens to be in the red zone more than they should have been. But other than that, I thought the defense really showed up that game. They stopped them through 3 quarters.
Can the Pats offense deal with the Denver Broncos defense, and how will this game turn out?
The Broncos, of course, do have Von Miller, who is tied in the league for first in sacks. But I think the Patriots' offense is dynamic, and I think they have a lot of options. You saw them use 3 tight ends at one point in the Ravens game. So they have a lot of options, and of course you have Belichick and Josh McDaniels, who are great offensive minds and can get it done.
Yeah, Von Miller, Chris Harris, Aqib Talib as well, who has 3 picks this year.
And a couple threats.
And a couple threats as well. He's been scary. We all know him, obviously, as he played for the Patriots a couple years ago. Trevor Siemian, though, does he scare you at all?
I don't think so. No, he doesn't. He's a game manager. He was actually questionable last week. He had an injury, but he's not scary to me at all. Obviously, the strong point of the Broncos is their defense. It's not their offense. Their offense is 25th in the league in passing, 16th in rushing, so not a lot to be worried about.
All right, we'll see if the Patriots can get up with the Broncos. I'm going to take them 21-17.
I had them by 10.
All right, so let's go to the Bucs and the Cowboys. The Bucs coming off a 16-11 win versus Saints. What are you looking for in this game?
Well, the Bucs are on a 5-game winning streak. Is the thing. They're a hot team.
Quiet. It's quiet though.
It's a quiet 5-game winning streak,
yeah.
which is funny
which is weird.
to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but Jameis Winston has been getting it done. He has those long passes to Mike Evans, who is their leading receiver, and so I think that this is a scary team for the Cowboys to go up against, even though they are 11-2.
Yeah, Mike Evans, he's actually struggled the past couple weeks a little bit, only 8 points in my PPR league the past 2 weeks. But again, he's still so explosive. He's a deep threat. He can play in the slot as well. Doug Martin, touchdown in 2 straight games. He's been really quiet, obviously, this season. Had an injury at the beginning of the year. I think it was a tibia injury. But he's come back, and he's actually been surprisingly pretty good for this team.
Yep, and just the only thing about the Bucs is their defense is 21st ranked in the league, just kind of middle of the pack, not a lot. Lower middle of the pack, so not a lot to be worried about there. But their offense, I think, is a threat to the Cowboys' defense.
And then talking about the Cowboys, they're coming off that 10-7 loss versus the Giants.
Giants are always their kryptonite.
Exactly. They've lost to the Giants twice. They're only 2 losses on the season. Now people start to wonder, should Dak Prescott sit because of his bad start, and should they bring in Tony Romo? What's the deal?
I don't think so. That's a big hot ticket thing to talk about in sports media, quarterback controversy for the Cowboys, but I don't think there is a quarterback controversy. I think you stick with Dak until he makes a really bad mistake. I don't think he had a bad game. I think the coaching at the Giants game was not great. They called 40 different passing plays, and when you have Ezekiel Elliott, you have to get the ball to Ezekiel Elliott. You don't call as many passing plays as they did.
Did his performance ruin his MVP chances, or do you still think he's up there with the likes of Tom Brady, Derek Carr, those type of guys?
I don't know if he's going to get the MVP. I think he's still in the talks. I think he could finish maybe 3rd in voting or something, but I think when you have Tom Brady, who's, I think, the front runner for MVP, when you have Derek Carr, who's had good games, and then, of course, Matthew Stafford, who has been great in crunch time.
And also the Cowboys defense, 29th first passing in the league. So Mike Evans, hey, maybe he has a day with Jameis Winston. They can throw the long ball, so it'll be an interesting game. I'm still going to take the Cowboys winning this one 31-14.
Yeah, I have the Cowboys by 3. I think it's going to be a close game, but a little high scoring. But the fact that they're at home, I think, gives them an edge. So this week, if you are looking for a pickup in your fantasy league, I suggest Ladarius Green, tight end for the Steelers. He's only owned in 53% of leagues, and a couple weeks ago he had his career-high game against the Giants with 11 catches. And he's going against a weak Bengals defense this week, and so I think he's a good pickup for fantasy, especially having some injuries, as I do.
All right, who's one player that's going to explode this week in fantasy? That's running back for the Seattle Seahawks, Thomas Rawls. He's going up against a Rams team that just fired head coach Jeff Fisher after extending him for 4 years. So all sorts of turmoil in Los Angeles with the Rams. I don't even know where they play anymore. It's so crazy. They're 20th in the league in defense for rushing yards allowed per game. And Thomas Rawls, 24 points in fantasy in my PPR league 2 weeks ago versus Carolina, then 7 last week. So he's figuring it out after his injury, after he started this season on the injured reserve. He should be able to explode against a bad Rams defense. I think that'll be interesting to watch, and we'll see if that happens and see if our predictions are right. We always hope they are, but
We're always right.
Oh, I'd like to think so. With my fantasy team on this week, I don't know. That's a totally different story. Now we go to the Lions and the Giants. The Lions coming off that 20-17 win versus Chicago. What do you like about the Lions? Or don't like? It doesn't matter.
Well, I don't like 3/4 of the Lions. But when they're in the fourth quarter, when they're down in fourth quarter, they set a league record for fourth quarter comebacks. They have 8 on the season, and I think in crunch time, Matthew Stafford just gets it done.
He's 6th in the league in QBR. He's had a really good season. A lot of people didn't like him at the beginning of his career, really, through the first 4 or 5 years, but he's actually been pretty steady the last couple of years in his career.
Yeah, he has been, and he has Golden Tate, who has over 800 receiving yards. That's kind of middle of the pack, but he's his go-to guy, and he can get it down the field when he needs to.
And Stafford also has that injured pinky as well. He's not throwing the ball with his pinky on the football, which is different, but it's still working for him as well. They also have...
Yeah, he can use his legs to get it done, too. You saw him have a rushing touchdown last week.
Yeah, the Lions also have Tahir Whitehead, who's 8th in the league in tackles, so their defense actually surprisingly pretty well. They're 11th versus the rush, so we can see what happens with them. The Giants, though, they're coming off that win versus the Cowboys. They're having a great season so far.
They are having a great season. They're a scary team. They are 9-4, but I think they are a better team than a 9-4 team. You do have Eli Manning hasn't had a great year. He has some bad throws with some bad interceptions that shouldn't have happened.
It's always the problem of interceptions with Eli Manning.
Yes,
we know that.
Of course. But when you have Odell Beckham in that offense, they're a completely different team. He makes catches that other players just cannot. He's the most dynamic receiver in the team.
4th in total yards in the league, 4th in touchdowns as well. The Giants, though, they still don't have many other options besides him. Sterling Shepard started the year pretty well. Now he's kind of tailed off a little bit. So, I mean, Rashad Jennings, a running back, maybe he can do a little work here. But, again, the weapons are an issue. I'm actually, surprisingly, going to go with the Lions here by 10 points.
I'm going to go with the Lions. I think it's going to be another close game when they come back. I think the Giants' defense is a threat to them. You had Janoris Jenkins coming into his own last week. He had an interception and a forced fumble. So I think the Giants' defense is going to be a threat, but I'm going to go with the Lions.
I never thought I'd pick the Lions, but I'm doing so, and that's how we're going to end the show here today. So for Outside the Huddle, I'm Jacob Tobey.
And I'm Laney Johnson. Thanks for watching, and maybe we'll see you next time, if we have a next time.